Happy New Year, and welcome to our season-ending edition of the TOST TODDcast with Coach Q right here on the Belmont Media Podcast Network and also simulcast on the BMC channels and on belmontmedia.org. And once again, my name is Todd Bloniarz from the award-winning Time Out for Sports Talk monthly TV show. Pleased as always to be joined by the ever-loquacious, and I only mean that in the best way possible,
nice
the head
word.
Football coach of the Belmont Marauders, Yann Kumin.
Hello.
Coach, I guess just want to also take a moment here, remind our audience that links to our entire season of conversations with Coach Q are available via social media. Follow Time Out for Sports Talk on Facebook and on Twitter. Our handle is at TOSTBMC. You can also follow the coach on Twitter at Q_coach, and BHS Football is at Marauder FBall. And, of course, we have to start off with a lot of congratulations. And, of course, because you get congratulated, you have to get...
Oh, let's do it.
For the last time.
Thundercats.
Love it.
All right. Well, we won't do the whole. But well, you know, Coach, I know every year you've got the three goals. The winning record, making the playoffs, and beating Watertown. And this year, for the first time, congratulations, a big 3 for 3 on the goals.
Thank you.
And also kind of the little corollary goal, another one that kind of popped in there, too. First time with a winning record in the Middlesex League.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing that by winning 6 your last 7, that came into play. And, of course, you know, I don't want to bury the lead here, but, I mean, you know, the biggest goal that got accomplished, I think, this year, you knocking cancer to the ground and beating it into submission, and congratulations on that. That really, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, but I guess that just overall kind of makes it quite a unique year, and just talk about, you know, how, meeting all these goals and dealing with, you know, what you've had to deal with this year and these last few months. I mean,
it's been it was crazy, you know, that when the season came, speaking from a personal perspective, that when the season kind of came to an end, I realized, I think for the first time, just how hard it really was. We were really blinders on during the course of the season, both with regards to the kids and with regards to treatment and the cancer. And all of a sudden I got to Thanksgiving Day, and we had that great game, and, you know, I went up and saw my family after and all that, and then I woke up on Friday, and I don't think I've ever been so tired. I just kind of shut my body down and shut my brain down, man. So from a personal perspective, you know, in a good place. Health-wise, I'm good. You know, my beard's coming back.
Yeah, I see that. We could have the battle of the beards again.
Right?
I'm glad for that.
Good to get that back. I'm getting my taste back, you know, slowly but surely. I'm back in the gym, able to do some things. So all of that stuff is still there, you know. Cancer's a pretty insidious beast. So I generally tend to reserve my own comments about the notion of beating it. For me, it's more just, you know, not that the percentages suggest that this is something that's going to happen, but, you know, I'm resting in preparation for future fight.
Well, okay, fair enough. You know what happened? They were trying to convert on third down, and you stopped them.
We got a good stop. You know, we got a good stop, and we got the ball back. And, you know, now we got to go down the field and score. And so just, you know, from
not that we're trying to make light of it.
No, well, I do on a pretty regular basis, you know, like people look at me and they're like, Q, you who have somehow been living under a rock or something and don't know what's going on. They're like, Q, you look great. Like, you're just, you know, you're so thin and you've lost so much, you've lost weight. Like,
they want to know what's
your
secret.
And I look at them square in the face. I'm like, oropharyngeal cancer is just a winner for weight loss, man. It's just, so I think you have to have a sense of humor, you know, about life. And so from a personal perspective, man, I'm just super blessed and super happy and really excited that kind of the perspective that I was gifted over the course of this experience seems to have not left me yet as of today, you know, that I'm kind of really excited day to day to be be here and to be breathing and to be up and doing what I get to do. And I have a much deeper appreciation for little things. Like I sat down today at the restaurant Belmont Center and had a bowl of pho. Pho soup, and man, was it good.
Pho soup.
You all would say pho, but I think it's pronounced pho.
PHO. Okay, yes, I see. That's
and
right.
it was just like so amazing to sit down and taste, and little things, man, are huge for me. So personally, I'm great. I'm feeling really, really good. From a football perspective, man, this was a really cool season. It was filled with so much different stuff. Going all the way from having a week out of surgery and just having me and Bobby on staff, and having to hire and getting a bunch of new guys, and then getting a bunch of former assistants coming back on board and playing a really elevated role and helping us be great, and new guys chiming in, and the identity of the kids and what it was that they were willing and able to do for me and for our program, to start so slow out of the gate and have those 3 losses, and then to turn it around and win 6 out of the last 7, and to make the playoffs and to accomplish the goals and to beat Watertown and to have a winning record, man. For me, it was a singular season. I haven't really had one like that before, because football is kind of always, I said this to somebody in an end of season interview the other day, football has always filled an emotional need for me. I feel like there was something that was absent in my life or missing in my life that I used football to kind of plug that gap with. It had done that for 15 years. Cancer destroyed that. So for the first time in my life, football wasn't filling an emotional need. It was just football, and it made it better. And it made my interactions with my coaches better. It made my interactions with my kids better. It made my interactions with the game better. And I'm just so thankful to my players, first of all, and to my assistant coaches for the experience that we were able to all have together. And I'm really excited to get to have another similar experience, and to build on that perspective. So it was a really, really special year. It was a really, really, really hard year. I wouldn't want to do that again. And yet at the same time, I really would. So, it's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could tell, obviously, I think this, you kind of said it there, how special a team this was, especially the way you rebounded from an 0-3 start to the season. And I got, I guess, a small taste of that just getting to meet your senior captains and doing the Watertown Thanksgiving Day preview. That was a fun show, and it was great to meet them and a good bunch of guys. And I think they probably, I think you even said it on the show there, how they kind of helped you too get through the season in some ways.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's at the banquet, it was kind of a moment for us to, that's kind of our first reflection back on what this year has been. It was a tough banquet for me to speak and to it's very difficult for me to like put into words how much I owe these guys. And I think what I said at the banquet was, and I'll say it again, is that, I owe these guys a debt that I can't repay. I can't repay the couple hours that I got every day in that process, getting out onto the field and being with them. I hope they know how much strength it is that they afforded me, that they provided me in the process. And I'm just so humbled by the support of the Belmont community and these parents. I mean, it was, I couldn't, walk out of the field house without, Jane Fox bringing me food and people checking in on me and, making sure that I was okay. It was a really, really special group of young men who took it upon themselves to pick me up. And I think it's humbling when it's something that exists outside the realm of family and blood, like blood family, who's willing to do that for you. Yeah. When it becomes somebody who, is for us is like a part of our organization, is willing to do that for you. It's a real, it's a gratification of what it is that we preach and what it is that we talk about. And we got to see it again too on Thanksgiving Day with our our alumni presence, which was something that was really special too. But a similar thing.
Was there a pretty big turnout? I wanted to get to the game, and we will talk about the game.
Yeah. There was, man. There was. I mean, there was a whole crew from the last 6 years and I'm sure there were people from other eras too. You know what I mean? But from the time I've been here in Belmont, man, I mean, there were representatives of every team, and texts were flying in from kids, from now men from those years. And we took a great picture at the end of it with myself and Pereira and Barge, who were here at the very beginning with all of these kids. They were all up on the fence. They all had their Letterman's jackets on. I mean, it was really.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really, really cool. And that's kind of what we've been trying to create here, is this notion that, like, what it is that we do on this field is for all those guys, too. And, for them to get to be a part of that. And it was obviously great to see them.
Well, I can understand them wanting to turn out, given what you've been going through over the last few months.
Yeah, I mean, we usually have a pretty good alumni turnout anyway. They come back, our guys. But yeah, just super cool to see those guys, and now kind of scary. I mean, I just turned 38 the other day, so like watching these guys get older, and like it's just awesome to see these guys and who they're becoming. The caliber of men that they're turning into is really cool to see. So
well, wait till you turn 40.
2 more years.
Yeah. And
40 is the new thing.
And then there's numbers beyond that too.
Yeah.
I'm not to give my own age away. I usually give my age away just by
I'm in denial. I'm not there yet.
Which is it's not just a river in Egypt.
Not just a river in Egypt.
Well, let's talk about the game. I want my goal here was not to try to get you all emotional and everything, Coach. Actually, I do want to talk about.
I'm an emotional guy.
I know you are. That's what we love about you. But let's talk about the game itself. Hey, 2 in a row now. You guys Thanksgiving beating Watertown, and this was an impressive one. I mean, you didn't have the freezing cold conditions that you had last year, but it was kind of windy and overcast. I actually watched a little bit of this game on my phone while I was out in Belchertown visiting my mom for Thanksgiving. Of course, it kept buffering, so I was like, I'd see a big play, and then all of a sudden buffer. The ball's in the air. What's going to happen?
I've watched the broad. I mean, obviously it was Watertown's show this year, so I watched and Bob Capralian does such a great job, man. And I watched the broadcast.
He's one of a kind.
I love it, man. It's a Thanksgiving tradition every other year for me, as much as it is coaching the game that I get to talk to Bob, but yeah, no, it was a game.
Yeah, and you guys started. You were down early, and it seemed like the turning point to me. And I actually I think I was watching right around the time that the game turned. You were down 7-0. Watertown's driving. They get the ball down first and goal at your 4, and they're trying to punch it in. You guys make a great goal line stand, and then they end up missing a field goal. Mm-hmm. And then you're able to come back, starting deep in your own end. You go all the way down the field and tie the game, Arna, with the long touchdown pass to Preston Jackson Stevens. And I mean, do you feel like that's kind of, if there was a point where the game kind of started to turn a little bit more in your favor, that was probably it? And it started with the defense making that big stand.
I mean, we were pretty excited about the defense even from early. I mean, obviously we had a good defense all year, and we knew that. I think Watertown knew that too. And they took the ball in their first drive, and they had the ball probably at about like the 35 or the 40, and they took a shot. We were able to pick the ball off. On their first possession drive, Preston came up with a pick. And then I think we went 3 and out, or we went 3 and out and got a roughing the punter call, and then we 3 and outed after that. It took us a little bit to get our offense going. They got a big play over the top on Preston. Their first touchdown score was on a flea flicker.
That's I remember. Yeah, I saw that.
A double. It wasn't even like a flea flicker. It was like a double reverse option pass, right? They like throw the toss. The toss comes back to the reverse man. The reverse man flea flickers it to the quarterback, and then he throws. So we had, we saw run action and committed up, and we got beat over the top. Yeah. So
more trick plays from Coach Kakachi.
Yeah, I mean,
he exhausted the onside kicks a year ago, so he had to go to something different.
I mean, John's a great coach, man. So you always know that every year there's going to be something like that in that bag. I mean, our entire attitude towards trickeration on Thanksgiving Day is that their entire offense can't be that. So if you get 7 points off of that or 6 points off of that, then good for you. Congratulations. You still got to beat us with your offense. You can't do that all the time. They tried to do it again in the third quarter, and we stopped it. We almost picked it off. There were 3 guys sitting back there. We're only going to bite on that once. So, and so when my guys came over from the sideline after giving up that initial score, I'm like, guys, we've been here before. Actually, last year we were here times 3. So, like, I'm not worried. I love that on the first offensive series of the game, or second offensive series of the game, they felt it necessary to go into their trick playbook. That always encourages me. So I was happy about that. And then what I wasn't happy about was the big beat over the top. Preston got beat actually over the top. He made the pick on the first series, and he got beat, I think, on their third series. And then our defense knuckled up. And we had a good stretch run stop to the far sideline, Watertown going right. And then we had another stop going left. And then we copped a holding call, which we declined in order to bring up fourth down. And I heard Bob and his commentator talking, why wouldn't you take that penalty? This is high school football. So the field goal is by no means a foregone conclusion.
Right. Well, especially
even from where
it
they
was
are.
pretty windy too.
But the real, not yet though. At that point, the game was pretty calm. Right. But the real deal, and this is what I wanted to clear up. I'm glad we're on here. Is my personal. I'm not giving somebody another shot at the end zone. If I take that penalty, it's 3rd and 11 from the 21. He can hit the end zone from there, and anything can happen. So I'm like, I'll take the 3. I'm not giving you another shot at 6. You kick this field goal from wherever and you make it, you get 3 points, good for you. Yeah. But I'm not. We just stopped your shot to the end zone. I'm not giving you another one. So we declined the penalty. They kicked, missed it, and we were started, kind of able from there to get our at least one facet of our offense back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, and then second half, you guys kind of, kind of turned it on more. The defense continued to play strong. You got the, you had Arno throwing his second of 3 touchdown passes. Good game for Avery in his finale. With the pass to Hubbard, and then of course later on Hampton Trout kicking a field goal. And some little quick news there. Obviously, I saw the tweet that you had posted on your feed again at Q_coach. Congratulations, joining the NESCAC. Off
to Trinity. Yeah,
that's a very good football. I mean, they've been.
We're excited for Hampy, man. He's a good kicker. He's definitely going to have a good career there. I mean, we saw. I think we had trouble running the ball. If you were at that game or you watched that game, we had trouble running the ball. It was a pretty.
Yeah, it was definitely. This was not your Chad France. Nope. Because that had been your formula through the winning streak.
It was kind of a problematic. It was kind of a problematic day for us up front. They were doing a couple of things that were frustrating us a little bit, and honestly, we didn't get the kind of run blocking game that we wanted to get out of our offensive line. And we got the run game going in the third quarter a little bit. We got a couple big runs from Chad in the third to set up the Hubbard touchdown. That was set up by Chad. Yep. Like Chad ran probably 45, 50 yards on that drive, if not a little bit more. But we recognized pretty early that we had some good stuff going on one-on-one on the edge, that they were initially resigned to cover Preston and Hubbard one-on-one. So we found Hubsy on our series coming out after the goal line stand, and that brought us to midfield. And then I think we actually went 4 and out after that, right? Like we turned the ball over on downs, stopped them, got the ball back, and that's when Preston scored. Same deal on a vertical pattern. With a beautiful ball by Arno, and it was in stride, and we said, okay, we got something going here. So, I think it's really a credit to where our team development has been over the course of the year, that we didn't just keep banging our head against the wall. We kept testing the run out and going back there, but once we figured out that we had that in our pocket. And then the Hubbard touchdown was... We had been running the ball. Third quarter, we finally got the run game going a little bit. Chad got a couple of those break tackle runs that we've been accustomed to all year. Yeah. We got down inside Tuna. Santoro brought us down inside the red zone with a nice carry. Mm-hmm. And then we stalled out on like the 3, and it was 4th down. And I was like, we're going to kick it. And Arno came over to the sideline and he goes, I won't say what he said, but he said, don't kick it. And so we went out there and we got Hubsy on a slant, which is always been something that we pride ourselves on, being able to convert that 9 out of 10 times. Right.
So and it's been a successful play for you in the past, as you said.
Yeah, right? And that was a big play, for us to convert that and for us to take the lead, there. And
right, no spotting him 20 points this year. It's just, you were able to, really control. To me, like I said, I felt like the second half you guys were pretty much in control. I know Watertown did come back and tied the game up.
Yeah.
And then, that set up the Trout field goal. And then
I feel like those scores are reversed. I feel like,
really?
I think the Trout field goal came before the Kareem Monroe touchdown.
Anything's possible. I mean, this was the
I'm pretty sure
the Globe's.
I think their order is wrong.
Okay. I kind of it did. Now that you're talking about it, and your recollection is definitely better than mine, which is vague at best. But I think you're right. It might have been right because
I feel like we went up 17 to 7,
right,
and then they made it 17 to 14.
That's what it was, right?
And that field goal was a beast because at that point the wind was cooking. It was swirling hard right to left, and we got an offsides call on our initial attempt. They jumped. And so we got 5 yards.
Okay, yep.
But even so, I mean, what was the distance on that thing? 37 yards in a right to left wind blowing and at that time it was raining, so the ball was wet. Like, that was, for me, like, honestly, Hampy's made some big kicks for us, game-winning kicks. But that field goal was good from 47. That was his kick of his career for me. That's the best kick I've seen him make. And yeah. And then Kareem went in.
Sending him off to Bantamville.
And then Kareem went in on the only touchdown that Justin Rocha has allowed this year, all year.
Yeah.
And Rocha missed the tackle. And Kareem is a really good athlete, so if you're not going to get a good rap on him, he's going to go. And so he went in for the touchdown. And then the last one is my favorite. I mean, that was a strike.
Right. That was a deep ball, or was it a? Because actually, I have to admit, I probably at that point I think we were getting ready to go to get dinner or something. But
I mean, we had actually found Matt at the end of the second quarter on a post over the middle of the field with about 45 seconds left in the first half. So he had already had a catch. Doesn't show up on the Globe report because he didn't score. Right. That was a 3rd and 14 from the.
Well, this was from the 13. Okay.
So we were on the 13-yard line. That was about a third. I think it was a 3rd and 17.
So you were just looking to get it to the first down marker, and then what did
nope.
he? No. Oh, you went for okay.
That was
the deep one that you.
Yeah, we called an everyday speed pattern that we have, but we tweaked it with what McHugh was doing in it.
Yeah,
and that's
was Watertown in man at that.
That's where we were going. They'd been predominantly in man on the outsides, but playing a little bit of a combo cover to our trips look. But we knew that we were going to be able to get some isolation up the seam with Matt, so we just said, "Let's go." We'll punt it on 4th down. We got the lead. Fortune favors the bold type deal. I walked up the sideline afterwards, and this is, that's the call of my career. Trip scissors, Esco, like that. 3rd and 17, and Matt caught it at about the 50, and then spun out of the tackle and ran yak the remaining 37, 40 yards for the score.
I remember in some of the early season games that we actually broadcast that McHugh, it seemed like you were trying to work him in. He was kind of a big part of the offense. And then, obviously I didn't see, when you guys started on the win streak, I didn't see as many of the games, but I also, looking at like box scores and stuff, I didn't necessarily see Matt showing up a lot. So I guess it was kind of nice that, he got off to kind of a big start where he was getting a lot of targets, and then he kind of closes out the season.
Yeah, I mean, our target wise is, Preston, Zach, and Rocha are the 3 most targeted receivers throughout the season, and McHugh comes a little bit after that. I don't think that we're ever going into a season or anything like that saying, this is who we want to be the focal point or whatever. We're looking week to week to good matchups and who can we get into what space against what defense that we're playing with, and what's going to be successful there. And so, if you've got a great receiver, we've got a bunch of them, but if they've got 2 lockdown corners and those lockdowns are on Hubbard and Rocha, then Preston and McHugh are open. And if they're on, McHugh and Preston, then Hubbard and Rocha are in good matchup situations. So that's more along our lines, and for that play, it just happened to be kind of something that we thought we could get. And
sure,
I mean, normally in that situation, because there were like 2 minutes left, I'd run the ball into the middle of the line, kill clock, let it tick down, call a timeout, punt it, and make something happen with 1:45 left instead of throwing. But it worked. So
yeah. So at your first win at Victory Field, and so that had to feel very satisfying.
It
right?
was, man. I got the water dunk. They got me really good.
Well, better than last year. At least it didn't feel quite as cold.
Oh
right?
my God, It was so cold. And they got me good. Like they got me good. Yeah, it was great to win at Victory. I mean, it's always great to win in that rivalry. Obviously, now we're 2-4 in my time against Coach Kakachi and the Raiders, and Watertown week is a season in and of itself, and so like winning that, yeah. I mean, I was uber emotional. By the time we got to the group huddle, we went down the line. I got the dunk. We shook hands. The alumni were out there, and then I got into the huddle, and Mr. Davis came out of nowhere and gave me the game ball, and I pretty much collapsed into Bob's arms, and I don't know if that was before the game huddle or after it. I've never, I don't honestly, Todd, it sounds so cliched and weird. Like, I don't remember. I remember kind of just collapsing into Bob and sobbing. Like, not just like the football, like, I have tears in my eyes. I'm so proud of you guys. Like,
it was just everything came to, right.
You know what I mean? Like, just literally like heaving sobs in this kid's shoulder,
It's almost like you'd been like corked up all of a sudden. Someone pulled the cork
and it just
it.
Went. And then I think we got in and Jim gave me the game ball, and I mean, it's sitting in my house on a mantle right now, man. Like, that game ball is to me more special than the win one game ball that I have, which is pretty much the only other game ball I have right now at this point in my career. And man, that was something. It's just something that's very, very, very difficult to describe and to recreate, and I'm just really glad that I got to have that experience. I think back to my diagnosis and how scared I was that I wasn't going to get to do this, and that's why getting to be out there with those guys and get them that win, and they're able to get it for themselves and gut it out, and just it was a cacophony of emotional voices at one time. I've never experienced anything like that in my life, and it's just a high school football game. So that speaks, I think, a little bit to the power of what it is that we get to do in this thing if you're bought into it.
Yeah, and it just feels like given everything that you were going through, fighting the cancer, and then having this winning season, it's. I think it's kind of, I think it's rather serendipitous that the team just had this kind of, special season to begin with. And, I'm reading here, first winning season for Belmont football in 10 years.
Wow.
I remember a year ago we were talking about Watertown had 10 straight winning seasons prior to the Thanksgiving Day game at Harris last year. Yeah. So it's almost kind of like the rivalry has maybe started to turn here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this thing historically, we talked about it in the captain show, right? Like, these things come in bunches a little bit, So hopefully we're on a little bit of a run here or whatever. But, I think, again, we're just, we'll reset and, worry. Right now we're worried about the off season. Right now I'm thinking about Wednesday workout and I'll think about Thursday, then I'll think about Monday next week. And I'm not even really at next fall anywhere close yet.
You got some time yet.
We got a little bit of time. I'm
you
just
savor this one. I mean, this is this has been kind of
savored.
Yeah, okay.
I took my month. It's savored. Trust me. Like, it's in the memory bank. But all of us who are football guys, I think, man, like, okay, next.
But but it's also right. It's the cumulative, of the fact, this is year 6 of your program, and what you've just kind of seen this build, and then of course what you had to deal with on top of that. But all, I can,
I just think that like one of the things too that's really important to remember is I remember having this kind of decision point when they told me that this is what was going to be going on, and I had to choose if I wanted to do this quietly or not, and. Contrary to popular belief, I'm actually a pretty quiet and private person with regards to like me. You know what I mean? Like,
would you consider yourself an introvert?
Stuff. Yes, I'm a social. As crazy as that sounds. I'm a.
And yet these podcasts work. I don't know. It's amazing.
I'm a social introvert. I'm good at having conversations and communicating, but it takes a lot for me to do that. So I wanted to make a decision as to like. Am I going to be public about this, or am I going to just suffer in silence and tell my team because they're going to see it? And, and the decision to talk about it wasn't rooted in the notion of everybody look at Q and how strong he is, because I'm not at all, man. When I look at my treatment regimen and I stack it up against the people that I got to know in it, I'm not strong comparatively at all. Jessica, who was fighting a brain tumor and was going through 70 over radiation treatments, she's strong, bro. I'm not strong. That was stage 3, So that's A. It was more the notion of like, look at the power of sport and community to support people who are dealing with things that sometimes seem overwhelming. And there are a lot of people in our program, kids, coaches, and parents who are dealing with things that are overwhelming. And football and sport in general, but football in our program in particular, can almost uniquely provide strength and stability and love. And in this, world that's swirling with so much negative, to be able to look into the depths of a sport and see that's what I wanted to show. That's what I really wanted for people to look at this and not be like, oh my God, look at Q. I want people to be like, man, look at sport. Like, look at football, look at community, and look at love, and this notion that 65, 70 people can come together and support and lift up and work and confront the darkness and the obstacles that we confronted, including the obstacles that some of our kids had to confront that we don't share because we shouldn't, because they're kids and it's theirs,
right?
And like that for me is the message of the season. For me is like, I have even more faith than I had before in the power of love as the singularly most powerful force in the universe. That's what I wanted people to see, and I don't know if we got that message all the way there, because I'm loud, but that's more of
introverted.
But introverted.
Loud but introverted.
It's just an act. It's just a shell.
Uh-oh.
No, not entirely, of course, but like no, I don't know how successful I was in relaying that message. I'm sure some people looked at it and be like, man, like I'm sure there are lots of people who are sick and they're not talking about it, and look at him out there talking about it, like trying to use his cancer to get attention. And
I never, through all of our conversations throughout the season, I never got that feeling.
I didn't want to give that because honestly, I really didn't want attention, man. I didn't like how I looked. That was probably one of the hardest parts of the entirety of it was having to look at myself in the mirror. I didn't. The man who was looking back at me didn't look like the man I'd come to know over 37 years of life. So like that was one of the hardest pieces of all of it, was just like, what the deuce, man? Like this is doing something to me, and I can't stop it. And that so like that was kind of the end game. I hope we were able to do that, and most importantly, out of all of it, I hope that we were able to show our kids that. I hope that all of the guys on our team, and especially our seniors going off into the world, were able to derive an understanding not of my strength at all, but of theirs, and to take that with them as they march forward. Because we got a good crop of young men this year, and I'm excited to see what they do.
You always got a good crop coming up here. It's
but we got good kids, man. We're lucky.
Speaking of those seniors, any other updates on any of the players besides?
There's some
Trent?
stuff. There's some stuff in the works. Justin Roach is making his decision, and Ryan Santoro is making his decision. I think Zach is going to go to Northeastern, which is what he's always wanted to do. So I don't think, going to play football in college. Zach Hubbard. Ryan Hoffman is still exploring around. He's obviously a hockey and a lacrosse player too, but he was voted by the coaches of the Middlesex as an all-league offensive lineman. So I think he's somebody that actually could play a little defense.
I did take a peek at because there was a possibility that you and I were going to work a hockey game together, and I did see Justin and Ryan Hoffman listed on the, and boy, Roach, a two-time captain. He's a captain on the hockey team too.
Justin's a stud. He might be a baseball captain too. He might get all three.
Wow.
And so we're waiting to see where some of those guys end up. They're kind of weighing options and looking at the money. And I was just talking with Joe Hurley's dad over at the Lions Club. Man, he was talking to me about college expense and what college costs now.
I know it's
like.
Well, that's why you even.
I knew they had gone up.
Right, I know.
But he started throwing some numbers at me, and I was like, "What?"
It's like 4 years for us is like 1 year now. It's
insane.
It's really
It's insane.
It is. No, there's no question about it. I mean, that's why you hear it certainly is a talk in Washington. Why you have different candidates are talking about trying to offer up for.
I mean, it's just.
I'm just saying, but it's a major issue.
It should. And
it's not fair because there's a lot of bright kids out there that aren't getting a chance to be able to.
I mean,
our
general, like, not to get completely off base, but like I think our general attitude nationally is our approach to education is a little bit off the rails. Both in terms of, there are so many things that we could do. Obviously, money into public schools, especially in areas of need, would be one. But another big one is, America has always stigmatized trade schools, which I think is horrible, and we've prioritized college degrees, but to the point that a bachelor's degree has kind of become a replacement for your high school diploma. A BA now is what a high school diploma was to us when we were graduating, and now you need a master's in order to be competitive in a kind of corporate or commercial or white collar-y setting. And then, there's really no diversification of path, and I look at a country like Germany where you either, you do your Abitur, which is your university track, your examination track, or you do the Fachschule, which is a trade school. Fachs is Fach is trade. So you do your Fachschule. And but in Germany, that's a very respected and arduous track, and it should be here too, and it is, and I know a lot of kids, man, who are bright kids who are off at the Voc doing great stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're at the Voc," and it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I guarantee you that kid is going to be richer than me at 27 than I am right now at 38. So jokes on who?
Right.
And so I think that's kind of one of the things that to me, like from an educational perspective, that we could stand to take a look at as a country, because it's ironic that I say that as somebody who just walked out of education, but it's at least traditional education, I say. Right. But yeah.
Well, I know you had, I mean, you had your own reasons for that, which we don't need to get into on this show. But this, as we're kind of wrapping things up, I suppose you probably already answered this, but I'll give you the opportunity. Is there anything else you're going to remember about this 2019 season that had so much success going for it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably just say, for me, very little things that stick in kind of in the craw of my memory. one of them was I think it was like we were maybe 3 or 4 days out. And I think we mentioned this just as a memory, but Justin's dad, Dennis, brought his chili. After it was like a Tuesday before Thanksgiving practice. It was wicked cold. Like the type of cold you come in that when your hands start thawing out, they hurt brutally, and so like everybody's like in front of the heaters and trying to get warm after practice. And, in walks, he had told me he was coming, but in walks Dennis with, his, and if you haven't had Dennis's chili, you should. So that
okay. Yeah. Where do I go?
I'll put it in order for you. You got to know a guy.
Right. Okay.
And all of us kind of sitting around the table in the coach's office and just kind of eating chili, and talking and laughing and telling stories and jokes. And I kind of just like sat back for a second, and it was kind of this culminating moment, similarly to like when the alumni were all out on the field with us after Thanksgiving, and say like, look at what we made. And I say we, and all the guys who came before, the assistants who are here now, and the players, like literally, like look at what we made. Like look at this thing that we built. It feels really cool to do that. Like we made that. We as a family made that. Nobody made that for us. Like we didn't have any help. We had a lot of doubters. Jim took a risk on a young, unproven coach. It's not like I won a Super Bowl here or won the Middlesex. Let's not go nuts, man. We have other goals. This is the end of phase 1. But, like, look at what we made. Look at this environment. Look at this culture. Like, we came in here and we said the one thing that we're going to do first and foremost is we're going to bring at least culture of football back to this town. And I think we've done that. Our stands are filled on game day. The band is rocking. People are eating food. Their student section is filled. We're competitive. We were competitive in 11 games this year. 10 games. Yeah, we were competitive in 10 out of 10 games this year. You know what I mean? Except for, 9 out of 10 games, Danvers.
Right, right.
And like, that's what we wanted to build. That was our first goal. And so for us as a staff, and for me as the head of the staff, it feels really good to look at it and be like, man, we made something. It's like painting a picture and looking at it and being like, oh, that's pretty good.
And that's like the other degree of difficulty, which I know I brought up early in the season, was the fact you guys only played 10 games, which was going to make, reaching some of these goals a little more difficult, but it didn't seem to stop you guys once you got going.
Yeah, I mean, you just need a couple balls to bounce the way that you need them to. We get in that, we win that Woburn game, but we needed Bill Ricker to lose, and they did. And we've had our share of bad breaks over the last 5-6 years, and we were able to get a good one. And but yeah, it was that to me is my fondest memory. It's like that we've been able to build something pretty cool here and pretty special. And hopefully the young men who have come through our program in those 6 years feel similarly about it. And they carry a good high school football experience into their life and on to something bigger and better. Because, again, for the kids out in Radio Land, one of the things we say in our program on a regular basis, I'm always reminded of, you see Varsity Blues. You remember the Varsity Blues?
I actually, if you can believe it, I've seen a lot of football movies. That's one I haven't
never seen.
I've never seen.
So John Voight plays this like evil, sadistic high school football coach in Texas, and there's a line in it where he says, 48 minutes for the next 48 years of your life, and like we're the opposite of that. If playing your Thanksgiving Day football game at 18 years old is the highlight of life, I have a problem with that.
I know. You've brought that up.
And
on this,
for me, I want our guys to have a positive high school football experience, to experience what it feels like to play in games that matter, in front of crowds who want to see the game. That's special. But also to be able to take what it is that we have in our program and apply it elsewhere, in whatever they choose to do, whether that's college or work or the armed services or police, fire, first responder, as husbands and fathers and whatever else it is that they choose to do with their lives, man, to be able to take some of the lessons that we teach within our program and make it, salient in a larger existence.
Well, when you see those, when you saw the alumni at Thanksgiving, I mean, do you kind of already see some of that message?
Yeah, I mean, I got a super nice text from Nick Ryan, who was one of our first captains after Thanksgiving, who is a lieutenant. He graduated from West Point and is now a lieutenant, commissioned lieutenant in the U.S. Army, you know, and like to talk to like a, you know, kid like Nick and just be like, man, you know, that first class, they're all graduating college, you know, like the Max Jones class, like they're out. And they're out,
wow.
Right? It's crazy, right? You remember that class? You were calling those games. Like,
I know, yeah.
They're out. They're out. They're out in the world. Yeah. Like they're doing things, and it's just like, man, you know, it's a gratifying. It's scary, but it's a gratifying feeling to say, like, I hope we played a small role in helping those guys get to where they wanted to be, and now just watching them do what it is that they do. And, you know, like a kid like Nick and being like, yep, like this man is now in a life or death role responsible for, you know, the lives and futures of the men and women under his command. Man, that's I don't know if cool is the right word for it. It's because that's a heavy obligation, but like Nick's a good dude for that. You know, and like, look at that. Like, that's special.
Yeah, there needs to be a more distinguished word for like a cool on it.
Right, like a distinguished cool.
Yeah,
so if you look at it, it's like, you know, like, and then you're like, oh, like y'all won on Thanksgiving, you know, and I'm like, that's the cool. Like, that's cool. Like, it's cool that we won. Don't get me wrong. I'm psyched. Woo, football. But like that dude, look at that dude. Like, this dude's going to medical school. This dude's going to law school. This dude's starting his own business. I'm just like, yo, this is what it's really like. I got into coaching high school football to experience that, and I've been able to experience with other kids because, you know, this is my first time as a head coach. Right? It's always been as an assistant coach, and I'm like, oh, look at all these kids who are doing cool stuff, and I played a role in that for sure. We played a role in that, but like this is the first time that as a head coach, it's like our program, and watching these guys do it. So yeah, man, it's like, wow, it's awesome, and I would encourage. Just talking with some of the youngsters, you know, like. I would encourage people who are heading into high school to give football an opportunity, man. There's a lot of negative that swirls around our game, and I would encourage parents and kids to be willing, at the very least, to have the conversation. Because if we're going to have the conversation about the negatives of this game, and if that conversation is going to be slanted to the experiences of high-level collegiate players and professional players, then I think at the very least, we as high school coaches deserve the opportunity to talk about the positives from the level that we play in the region that we play, right? Like, what are the benefits that you're going to get from playing 4 years of high school football? Those voices deserve as much. And, like, give it a shot. Give it an opportunity. And, you know, now Chief McIsaac, so congratulations to Chief McIsaac, you know, has done a great job of trying to bring that back to the younger kids of Belmont, to the 7th and 8th graders of Belmont and the middle school team. And, you know, we're really excited to see where that continues to go as we march forward in the future, because we got a great crop of 8th graders who are coming in next year to start their freshman year. We're fired up about them.
Well, I do want to bring this up a little bit. There was an article in the Globe last week. Big news about the future of high school football here in Massachusetts and the MIAA. A new playoff, a tournament proposal is out there, and if it gets approved, which the coming weeks they are going to try to get this approved. If it's going to take effect in 2 years. So the upcoming 2020 season would be the last one played under the current tournament format. And in this one, it looks like some of the ideas were things that I know you and I have kind of discussed on this program, with you know, kind of all of the Division III schools kind of all, you know, playing you know, kind of against each other throughout the season. It may mean that the Middlesex League, as we know it, might be over to some degree because obviously half the teams you play in that division, in the Liberty division, are D1 or 2, and so this could take a little bit of getting used to. But ultimately, I think for all the things you just talked about, and some of the positives of the sport, and trying to have everyone, schools of similar sizes and whatnot, kind of playing against each other, sort of kind of balancing out the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your? I know I kind of threw this on you tonight because you've been still sort of traveling around and stuff, and you didn't get a chance to see this. But do you have any kind of initial?
I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, whatever we're going to try next is what we're going to try. So let's just go. And my job as a coach is not necessarily to think about what the tournament structure is going to be, but to try and win it. Sure. And so that's more of, where my focus is. We've talked a little bit about it before. Like, I'm a little caught between a rock and a hard place because, like, I like the Middlesex League. I mean, I was a Middlesex League D coordinator and now 6 years. So I've been in the Middlesex for 8 years in total, and I like our league. I like the guys that I coach against. I like how passionate we are about football in this little corridor, because we are. Like, the guys in that room, Jack Belcher, John Fiore, it's Bob Almeida, Robbie DiLoretto this year, Wally Dembo, we're passionate about Craig Turner, we're passionate about ball, Jack Rafferty, and I like that.
And the rest. Okay.
Yeah, and the rest.
I don't
know who I missed. Mike Hill knew at Lexington, and
it's okay. They'll forgive you. Maybe not. We'll see.
Tim Morris, Melrose. Don't want to forget Timmy Moe. Super Bowl.
Okay. Timmy Moe.
Morris.
Hey, yes.
He's a savage. He's a Hall of Fame coach in the making, and so I like that. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, like, it doesn't make sense. So on the flip side of it is, like, the emotional side of me is like, yeah, I want to keep playing in the Middlesex. And the rational and pragmatic side of me is it's every other state, and I'm pretty sure, like, every other state out there has abandoned this notion of conference identity. So I provided that we are. I have two issues. One, I'm not going to make any friends with this again. If anybody hears what we're talking about outside of our regional market base. One is, as long as we're making schools that, as long as we're making sure that we're really dealing with equitable enrollment here across the boards between the Central, the West, the North, and the South, I think division is great. And then you can kind of play either a randomly generated or a mix and match divisional schedule up until whenever the playoffs start. Top 8 teams go to the bracket. You play the bracket. The losers go to a consolation bracket. The non-playoff teams enter their own bracket, and you finish with a full divisional seating in each region, and you're good to go. To me, that makes the most sense.
Although it will make for a lot more travel, potentially.
But I don't necessarily see that as a horrible thing. I mean, like, it's cool to go somewhere else. Like, we got to go out to Beverly to play this year, and, like, that was awesome, man. We got to play at Hurt Field, and, like, that's not something that Belmont gets to do a lot. Andrew Morency's the head coach out there. We hadn't seen each other since we coached together in the Shriners game, like, 8 years ago. So, like, I got off the bus, and I'm like, Morency? And he's like, Q? I didn't even know you were there at Belmont. I was like, I didn't know you were at Beverly, which we probably should know, considering that we're, like, playing each other.
Yeah, you're right.
Weeks.
I think we did kind of talk through that game.
We were just like watching. We were just watching film. Like, I didn't even think about it.
Right.
And so that's one aspect. And then it makes sense to me. And then the second is that I'm not gonna make any friends saying this. Massachusetts needs to make a decision about what it wants to do with schools that are capable of recruiting, that are playing in the same leagues as schools that do not have that luxury, like St. John's Prep, who plays in the MIAA, right? But they're the prep. They can pull. They can get who they want. They can give money. They can do whatever they want. Like, what? Go play in the ISL.
Yeah.
Seriously, like,
right.
You guys are a private school. You guys are. We as public schools do not have unless we're like
there's usually been a distinction between public.
You look
and
at like
private
something like
schools,
Detroit, like Detroit has an awesome thing where like the public schools play their own schedule and playoffs. The private schools, the Catholics mostly, right? It used to be privates versus Catholics, right?
The Super 8 and Mass High School hockey.
They play their own tournament. And then the winner of divisionally, the winner of the public and the winner of the private play each other for the city title. Okay. That's kind of fire because now you have like the private and school and public school.
But that's kind of typically over the years what the D1 and the Super 8 high school tournaments have been around here too. It's like, ultimately you end up with like the private and the public and, being, you're always kind of pulling for the public as usually big underdogs. I just don't understand how that's something that has existed within the structures of a public school interscholastic athletic association for as long as it has. And I don't think it's fair. I just don't think it's fair. And I think honestly, long and short of it, especially at like the marquee divisions, is that like, to be honest, it encourages cheating. It encourages programs to have to compensate for the notion that like, well, I got to play this school that can recruit the 55 best athletes in their area. So maybe I should, start talking to some people who live 3 towns over and see if they don't have an uncle who lives in my town. Right? Like, and that's not what we're trying to teach here. And that's not what we're trying to do here. That's not what high school sports is all about. And so I think that's an issue that the MIAA certainly isn't talking about it. And I'm kind of at the point after cancer where I'm just like, I'm just going to say what I have to say. I'm so tired of kind of being like, oh, well, don't talk about that because people are going to get frustrated. They're going to get angry. I'm sorry. Like, no, it's what's fair is fair. There's a soundbite.
Yeah, that's a soundbite. Like, what's fair is fair. What I think is what I think. And like, I'm, whatever y'all decide, I'll abide by the rules and I'll play by it. And I'll, like whatever the tournament structure is, whatever, public-private relationship is, man, I'm a Massachusetts guy. I'm a high school football coach. I live in this thing. I'm going to keep coaching it. But like, also the notion that like, I'm not going to say in public sphere that I think it's crazy that a school that can actively recruit its athletes has to, is able to compete in the playoffs against a school that does not have that ability, to me is ridiculous. Why is that even a problem that we're...
Well, at least the good news from the Belmont perspective is St. John's Prep is not Division III.
Thank the good Lord.
Yeah, there you go. But maybe a couple of years from now, we might be seeing the Marauders, battling Algonquin.
How cool
high
would that?
School.
Like, I'm sorry.
Or how about Western Mass Minnechaug? Quick trivia, Coach. Where's Minnechaug High School located? Name the town.
Name the town. Boop, boop, oh my God. I think. Nope. Hold on. Give me a second. What's that town called?
I can throw a hint out at you.
Give me a hint.
Birthplace of Friendly's ice cream.
Oh my God. What's that in like? Man. Dude, I went to high school out around there, so I should know where Minnechaug is.
Dude.
Boom. Oh, that's the end of time.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Give me the first letter of the town. What? It's not Worcester.
No.
Wilbraham.
Bingo. Ding, ding, ding. All right. Good job there, Coach. That was pretty good.
I almost said that.
It was almost your first choice.
I was like, nah. So, yeah. But I think, Todd, that would be cool. I mean, I do. I think, like, dude, if this school's enrollment is the same as our school's enrollment, right? I think it would be cool that there's a week 2 matchup against Leominster. Hop in the bus and drive out to Leominster and play out there, and for them to
I think
come
you said it right the first time.
Yeah, and for us to like come into the city, for them to come in and play us at Belmont, man, like I think that would be kind of cool and bring our state together a little bit because, as somebody who has spent time in Eastern, Central, and Western Mass, there's like 3 Massachusettses. They're not the same. I mean, there's inside the 495 corridor. There's 495 corridor to like Amherst, and then there's
this corridor believes it's the only corridor.
And that's the problem, right? And then there's like there be dragons territory pushing out to Pittsfield out there. Like we don't even know what's going on out there.
Exactly.
So like I think it would be kind of cool to bring
the foliage is pretty.
It is beautiful. I actually love it out there, man. It's great stuff out there. So like, but I think it would be cool to be able to bring the 3 regions of our state together a little bit more in the regular season, not just in like a state title game, but like in a regular season game, and have that measure of parity would be awesome. I think, and I don't really have a life, so like, what am I doing on a Friday night that I can't sit on a bus for an hour and a half to go out and play a game, come back the other way? I got my headphones, I got my Netflix. I watch The Office on the way back on my phone. Like no worries.
There you go.
If we win,
choice
if we
on the,
win, if we lose, I just eat my turkey sub and I'm super grumpy.
And you have your appetite back, and that's great.
Oh
too.
my
So,
God,
yeah, so-
food is like a whole new thing for me, brother. It is awesome. I'm starting to chomp down the list of food to eat. I'm pretty fired up.
Well, we're about to wrap up here. We have a little surprise for you, but we're
boy.
going to do that off air as far as helping you out with the appetite. But anyway, I do want to, it's been another great season.
It
Coach.
has,
been doing this is fun, and I kind of look forward to continuing it
Me
again
too.
next
I want to
year.
thank you guys too for everything that you guys do at BMC, and you too, Todd.
Jeremy Meserva, our fine executive producer, BHS Sports Television.
But just for being willing to give the time, to do this and to call games and to sit and have this conversation. I mean, it's time out of your day, and you're not making the big bucks.
Well, and out of
this.
yours, Mr. Volunteer, 2019 Volunteer of the Year, BMC. We did not forget that here, folks.
I got honey.
That's right.
Literally a jar of honey.
And a plaque.
And a plaque.
There you go.
The plaque is hanging in my house. I'm very proud of that. And a mug.
So's the honey. No.
And nope, I tried the honey. Honey by Octavio's. Belmont honey. And the mug. Don't forget the mug. It says Volunteer of the Year right on it. So
right.
I drink my coffee in the morning, and I think about all my altruism for Belmont Media Center. I love you guys, man. You guys have been a part of my family here in Belmont, and you do so much for our school athletes and community, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, we can't thank you enough for helping to make football relevant again here in Belmont, like you said. Well, it's like I'm just using your word. You're throwing your words right back at you. But no, it's true. I mean, otherwise, if it wasn't such a, if it wasn't such a more, community embraced event again or a sport, we wouldn't be doing these podcasts.
Amen.
And we've been having a lot of fun with these. So,
keep it rocking.
Yeah, congrats on this year. Congrats on the 6 years, and best of all, congrats at beating cancer.
Thank you.
Hopefully for good.
Hopefully for good.
Hopefully for good.
Amen.
But we do want to also remind you as we wrap up our 4th season here talking with the coach, all of our Toddcasts with Coach Q can be found online at belmontmedia.org/podcasts, also on soundcloud.com by searching Belmont Media, and you can listen at your own convenience by downloading the free SoundCloud app. There's no reason why you don't have a SoundCloud app already.
That's where all the rappers are.
You're right. There you go. It's available on both iTunes and Google Play stores. So until next season, for Coach Q, I'm Todd Bloniarz saying go Marauders, because no matter what season it is, it's say go Marauders.
Winter sports.
It's applicable. And thank you once again for checking out the TOST TODDcast right here on the Belmont Media Podcast Network.